welcome back, guys. We are going to be jumping straight into our Black Crimson Vow set review. We're going to be doing that 1 to 5. Yanks is on the call. Let's go ahead and get it started right away with Aim for the Head, 3-mana sorcery spell. Choose one, exile target zombie, or target opponent exiles 2 cards from their hand. The exile here is really cute. So this is just a different take on Mind Rot that we see in every set, with a little bit of versatility in that it could possibly kill a zombie if that seems better to you at the time. So I like this. The other side is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. I mean, Mind Rot, we've been seeing these Mind Rot things with like slight bonuses, and I would consider exiling instead of discarding to be a slight bonus. To have it stapled onto also a conditional removal spell?
Yeah,
that's
so
a really good card.
It gets around, like, it's fixing the fact that Mind Rot would typically be very punishing in a set with Disturb and with a ton of graveyard synergies. But this makes you exile them, so they actually do have to discard them in this traditional fashion. And like I said, it's got a super conditional kill spell on the other side, so it's nothing but upside. And I'm far more inclined to run this. Oftentimes I don't like Mind Rots in Limited just because they're bad late game, but they seem to have been getting better and better to the point where I'm always running one.
Yeah, I agree. I've been running them more, and I think this is arguably better than any of the ones we've seen just because of its versatility.
Yes, I agree. Do we like this at like a 2/5? They're still pretty situational late game, but I think I'm still happy to run one.
Yeah, I think it's a 5.
All right, I'll let you take this one.
Archghoul of Thraben, 2 and a black for a 3/2 zombie cleric. Whenever Archghoul of Thraben or another zombie you control dies, look at the top card of your library. If it's a zombie card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. So 3 mana, 3/2 with a relevant creature type on its own is fine. And then whenever this dies, or any other zombie, and note it's zombie, not non-token zombie, look at the top card, and sometimes you get to draw it, and sometimes you get to put it in the graveyard either because you don't want it or because it has graveyard synergy.
You may put it into your graveyard, so it's not going to like accidentally hit your premium removal spells, which is kind of an interesting mechanic, and also stops you from milling yourself. I think this card is fantastic.
Yeah, I think this card's very good.
Now, obviously, it's got kind of a weird system where it could just do nothing. It could just be a vanilla creature with no text box, but I think that's pretty unlikely. You know, the ceiling for this is very, very high in blue-black, and I think the floor, just the incidental pings, even if you're just like, you know, black-green, you're going to have a few zombies in your black deck. I feel like this is like a 3/5, 3.
Yeah, I mean, even the floor, if this dies right away, you still get basically a surveil out of it.
Yeah. Because it includes itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there really is no super low floor. I like this at a 3/5.
Yeah, I think I like it more as a 3, but there are definitely going to be decks with enough zombies where it could definitely reach up into that territory.
I might just be a little traumatized from the last set. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm overrating it for that reason, but we'll see how it plays out. All right, Bleed Dry, 4 mana. Target creature gets -13/-13 until end of turn. If that creature would die, exile it instead. So it's going to get rid of all those pesky disturbs and any recursion that we might see in black or green or whatever. Creepy art. I love it. Instant speed, 4 mana removal. I'm about it.
Yeah, I mean, the -13/-13 is just like Innistrad fun. Mm-hmm. It's effectively 4 mana exile target creature.
Yes. And that sounds like premium removal to me.
Yeah. At instant speed, absolutely.
Or it is. Blood Fountain, 1 mana for an artifact. When Blood Fountain enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Pay 4, tap, sacrifice Blood Fountain, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so for 5 mana, card advantage, plus you get to filter away a land late game, get some stuff into the graveyard you don't need. This is fine. This is playable to me.
Yeah, I think this card is fine. I don't think it's exciting, and I think I can definitely see decks that aren't going to play this, but I think the majority of black decks will play this card.
Yeah, it's a little bit too expensive for what we typically see with the get 2 creature cards back, right? We've seen them for as low as like 2 mana. 5 is a bit high. They can kill it in response. But you do get this like incidental redraw, which I do like, and there's all other blood synergies, which could be relevant. But I think I'm a little low on this compared to what we typically see for this mechanic. I think it's like a 2.
Yeah, that's about where I've got it.
Great. Blood Crazed Socialite. 4 mana for a 3/3 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice a blood token. If you do, it gets +2/+2 till end of turn, which is another one of those alternative uses for blood tokens. I like that. I am fine with it. 3/3 Menace for 3 or for 4 is fine, and the redraw ability is kind of cool.
Yeah, this is a problem in combat, right? Because you've got to double block it, and then that gives you the. Well, I guess you have to do the sacrifice before the block, so
yeah,
you don't get to choose after that. But
I also don't like that you can't do it on the blocks. Like, it's not quite so flexible. But what would we vote? What would we give a 3/3 Menacer for 4 on its own?
I mean, I'd probably give it a 2.
Yeah. So what if we and then with a blood token it's a 2/5? Do we think the pump is enough to boost it to a 3, or is it just a 2/5?
I don't, because I think it's just a 5.
Yeah, I think that there is going to be an aggressive black deck that makes a lot of tokens that's going to make this a huge aggressive beater, and that deck will value this a bit higher, but that's going to be far and few between. I think it's going to be a 2/5 average playable, nothing to be excited about. All right, Blood Swarm Squire. I swear I can say that word. 4 mana for a 3/3. Pay 2, discard a card. Blood Sworn Squire gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Then, if there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, transform the Squire into a Bloodsworn Knight. Bloodsworn Knight's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards, creature cards in your graveyard. Pay 2, discard a card. It gains indestructible till end of turn. So it's got the same ability. It flips if there are 4 or more cards, so it automatically turns creature cards turns into a 4/4 and grows from there.
Yeah, you can do this if you're on actually on either side. You can do this mid combat.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously for indestructible, but also to transform it mid combat. I think this card's pretty good. It's gonna be hard to kill.
Certainly. I feel like it gets a little bit better in like blue-black when you have creatures in the graveyard, when you're drawing extra cards to fuel the discard ability. I think this is going to get a little bit weaker in like an Orzhov plan that kind of wants to poop out all of its stuff. It'll trade and flip, but you really aren't going to be reliably being able to like indestructible it after attacking and eating a thing. But I feel like those are the aggressive types of decks that want this, so it's a bit weird. That graveyard mechanic of it flipping and having power equal to that is pretty weird, but I think it's good no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, discarding a card is expensive, but if you're giving this indestructible, you're probably trading that discard for a card, whether it be a creature or a removal spell.
Yeah, and you can time it for discarding cards that are no longer relevant, like bonus lands.
Yep.
That is certainly true. What do you like this at?
I like this as a 3.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little on the fence of how good it would be if it was possibly a 3/5, but I think we're a ways away from that. All right, we have the Blood Vial Curator? Purveyor. The tiny blood token text kind of squishes it all together. Flying Trample. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token. Whenever Blood Vial Purveyor attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each token defending player controls. Huh. So it lets them loot. And they have to keep looting to keep your creature from killing them and dying. But it's a 4 mana 5/6 flying trampler.
Yeah, there had to be some downside to this card.
But that doesn't even seem like much of a downside. Like if my opponent Like, looting is good. But it's not like clue tokens where they're just drawing cards. So, like, they have to have something to discard. And also, if they do that, they might not be casting as many spells or as good as spells. They're going to be off curve. And then this is just going to kill them?
Yeah, I mean, this card says kill this or die.
Yeah. It doesn't leave any lasting board state, so this feels like a 4/5, but a 4-powered minion that's a 5-powered 4-mana minion for 5 power flying is going to shut down a game super fast.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside to this card, right, is that you play it, they cast the removal spell and kill it, and they're up a blood token in the trade.
Which is pretty minor. I feel like this is going to kill them more often than not, because 6 toughness is going to fade a lot of removal.
Yeah, that's your worst case scenario with this card.
Yeah.
It's that it's a 1-for-1 that gives them an eventual rummage.
Yeah.
And the best case is they just die in a couple turns.
Yeah. This seems like a 4/5 to me. Yeah. 5/6 flyer for 4 is real strong. All right, Catapult Fodder. 3 mana for a 1/5 zombie. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that have toughness greater than their power, transform this, and it turns into a 3 mana tap, sacrifice another creature, target opponent loses life equal to sacrifice creature's toughness, and it's a 2/6. Huh. That is an interesting way to win a game. It's cute. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of building around this, and I'm going to tell you why.
No.
Because I like it as a possible gotcha at the end, but if I'm like, build this wall of dudes, and I'm like, sacrifice a dude, hit you for 5, sacrifice a dude, hit you for 3, because it is a tap ability, and then I'm like, okay, I got there. I'm now going to sack my 4th dude and kill you, and they're just like, gain 3 life or whatever, or like, whatever the case may be, and then you've sacked all your creatures and you have no way to like then come back. Feels really awkward. It's also a super slow way, like you're going to get aggroed out in the air. Yeah, this seems tough to build around, but like, it's fine filler.
Yeah, I don't think you need to build around it, right? You need 3 or more creatures with toughness greater than power, and it counts as one of them. Mm-hmm. So you only need 2. Like, you need a couple 2/3s.
Yes.
Like, that's not hard to just happen to have.
No, my only point was that I wouldn't be too liberal on the sacrificing to try to kill them in that way. We're going to use this as like a 2/6 that just gums up the ground, hit them with the flyer a few turns, and then finish them off with this. Do not start sacking shit all willy-nilly like a crazy person.
No, the most likely way this finishes somebody off is like end of turn, sacrifice a X3, untap, end of turn, untap, sacrifice itself for 6 more.
It says sacrifice another creature.
It's another creature.
But I see what you're saying. It's like sacrifice my 2 other 3/3s to get you that I couldn't get in. It gives you reach. But I would want it to be kill you in 2 turns, like your end step, my turn. I wouldn't just start sacking things with like a 4-turn game plan.
No, nope.
All right. I'm going to give it a 2.
Yep, I agree.
All right, 6 mana for a 4/4 Menacer. This is the cemetery. This is the cemetery like line, whatever that is. And when it enters the battlefield or dies, exile another card from a graveyard. When you do, choose 1. Remove X. Counters from target permanent where X is the mana value. Enters the battlefield or dies. Okay. Remove X counters from target permanent where X is the converted mana value of exiled card, or target creature an opponent controls. -X till end of turn where X is the mana cost. So when it enters, it automatically kills a thing. And when it dies, it kills a thing?
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's about that. That's the gist of it. Yeah.
I was double checking because, like, I think the blue one said anytime you cast a spell, do the thing, or that was the Kraken.
The blue one was that was the Flash 7/8.
That was not the cemetery one.
The blue one, the cemetery is whenever you enter the battlefield or attack. The blue one.
Mm-hmm. This feels
as
great.
Opposed to enters or dies.
Kind of a 3 for 1, maybe a 3.5 for 1 if you're getting like a disturb card. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this card's fantastic. Unless this gets exiled, you should be getting at least a 2-for-1. If not a 3-for-1.
If not a 3-for-1. This is a 4/5?
Yep.
All right. Concealing Curtains, 1 mana for an 0/4 defender. Transform it for 3 mana as a sorcery. It turns into a 3/4 with Menace. When this creature transforms into Revealing Eye, target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose an online card from it. If you do, that player discards that card, then draws a card. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting card.
For 4 mana, we get like an early blocker against aggro, so this is sideboardable at worst. But for 4 mana, we get a 3/4 with Menace. Decent rate. That also can force redraw their best card. I like it.
Yeah, I think I really want to be playing this like on turn 1, transform on turn.
Yes.
Because I want to get this when they still have, their best cards in hand.
Agreed.
It's not like one where they get to choose to discard and you want to do it when they only have 1 card left or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good card though. I think it's a bomb. It's like a 3.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards a 3/5. I feel like the 3/4 Menacer for 4 is like a pretty good rate. And even if you average that you're just hitting like a mediocre playable, I think I'm good with that. It's like a good 2-for-1.
Yeah, I think everybody should remember that this is a May, so if all you can hit is a mediocre card, you might just be willing to let them keep it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I feel like, a medium, like 4 mana cost creatures are probably like the average card is going to be worse.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's more what I meant. But yeah, we're not force redrawing like they're 2-drops.
Yep.
All right, Courier Bat. It is a 2/2 for 3 mana. So we got some Wind Rider Drake, whatever they're called. This is a 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, if you've gained life this turn, return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. What a life gain payoff. I love this.
Yeah, that's a great payoff. Turn this into a Windrake that basically redraws.
Oh, I want to make this deck. Cha-cha-cha. I feel like even with just some incidental life gain, if this is, the white-black deck, it's going to be super easy to trigger this. You can't just play it on 3 or whatever, but you're typically not going to want to do that anyway, and it's attached to an evasive body that can do some stuff on its own.
Yeah, this card's very good. I think the biggest mistake people are going to make, honestly, with this card is not sometimes just playing it on 3.
Agreed. Yeah. So this is just, I'm happy to play a Windrake, guys. Just play them. I think this is like a 3. If you have the life gain deck, It's got a little bit more of a ceiling. But, a Windrake on its own, 2/5, maybe even close to a 3. And then if you've got just some random things that might trigger this, we're really happy.
Yeah, I like 3 for this.
All right, Demonic Bargain, 3 mana for a sorcery. Exile the top 13 cards of your library. Then search your library for a card, put that into your hand, then shuffle. I'm not super happy to play this card. And by that, I mean I'm not playing it.
Yeah, this is cute. A little bit of a throwback to Demonic Consultation, but you're not playing this in Limited.
All right, Desperate Farmer, 3 mana for a 2/2 lifelinker. When another creature you control dies, transform this into a 4/3 lifelinker for 3. So it's gonna trigger all your life gain stuff. It's fine. I'm usually not willing to pay an extra mana for this. We see this in white all the time, 2/2 for 2 with lifelink. But anytime something dies, we get this flip mechanic, which turns it into a pretty solid beater for 3 mana. That's still triggering your stuff. And quick little callback, it wasn't the white mana that creature like that flipped. Wasn't that a farmer that got you a plains?
Yes. The
Homestead Farmer or something.
The 2 mana one, yeah.
Yeah. This feels fine. A bit underrate on the front, but overrate on the back.
Yeah, it was Ambitious Farm Hand.
Yeah. Is this a 2/5?
I think it's a 2/5.
All right. Diregraph Scavenger, 4 mana for a 3/2 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled that way, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Life gain enabler, kill their like dispute or disturby cards. And it's just a Death Toucher. I mean, I'm not happy with a 4 mana Death Toucher, but I'm not unhappy with this card.
Yeah, card's okay. You generally in this format are going to be wanting to exile creatures anyway for disturb reasons, so you're going to get the trigger fairly often. But it is an expensive, Death Toucher, which usually you want that to be cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to have to see how chunky the 4 mana slot is, but I think this is fine. This is probably a 2/5 for me.
Yeah, I think I'm a little lower. I think I have this at 2, but I'm going to play it. I'm definitely going to want to have this around like in the sideboard for disturb decks. I'm not unhappy with it too much.
Saw too much upside in the last set with exiling things out of the graveyard.
Yeah, I think not having flashback cuts about half of that value in this set.
True.
But getting rid of disturb is definitely still a thing.
All right. 2 mana for a 1/1 human when Doom Dissenter. This is a reprint. I was like, this looks familiar. So this is great sack fodder for Exploit, one of the premium sack exploit triggers, I think. Relevant creature type in zombie and in human. I like Doom Dissenter, I always have.
Yeah, I believe it was first printed in Amonkhet.
2/5?
Yeah, in this format with the sack outlets, with Exploit, definitely.
All right. I'll let you take this one.
Dread Fugue, 1 mana sorcery. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it with mana value 2 or less. That player discards that card. You can play this for 3 mana to remove the mana value 2 or less, so it just turns into a Thoughtseize. I kind of hate this card.
I also hate this card.
I don't want to. I'm never limited casting this for 1, and I don't want to pay 3 mana to discard 1 thing.
Agreed.
If this was Exile It, you might be able to talk me into playing this every once in a while, but not. But I'd still be unhappy with it, and discard, I'm definitely not playing it.
I agree. I think we're definitely staying away from this card. We'll give this a 1.
Yep.
Red Feast Demon? 7 mana for a 6/6 flyer. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, sacrifice or create a token that's a copy of this demon. So if you have no other creatures, there's no downside. If you do, you turn them into demons.
Yes.
Okay. It's really expensive. But and it's the beginning of your end step. So, holy shit. It's a copy of Dread Beast Demon. So, that means it also has the ability. So once this is out, and it's your end step, and you have another creature, you copy, right? You turn your 4/4, even whatever, hopefully your zombie token, into a 6/6 demon with the same ability. They have to remove this, then they still die to the other 6/6 token. That's also turning all of your weaker creatures into 6/6s, and they just breed. This card is actually nuts. I don't care if it costs 7 damage. 7 mana.
Yeah, like if you had infinite fodder, this would just scale up exponentially. 1, 2, 4, 8, etc., etc.
This card's nuts. Even if you have no creatures, there's no downside. I mean, your worst case scenario is a 7 mana 6/6 flyer. Sign me up.
Yeah, this card's great.
Yeah. Do you like it at a 4/5 or a 5?
I want to say 5, but you do have it dies immediately and you get nothing out of it, but it's a 6/6. It's going to be hard to kill. I mean, we did see the -13 instance.
The other side of that is it doesn't impact the board in any meaningful way. So if you have no other creatures and they get to, so even if you play it cautiously, you might not have another creature on the board to make it so that way that happens.
Yeah.
If you're just top decking, so even if you play carefully, your opponent's tapped out, they untap, then they remove it, and it's still not very good. So our 5s typically have some sort of lasting effect on the board. So I think this is a 4/5. It's going to win the game, but also it's not terribly difficult to answer.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Go ahead. Do you agree?
Nope, you're good.
Dying to Serve, 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, create a tapped 2/2 zombie. Creature token. This ability triggers only once a turn. More constructed. Like, there's a lot of discard mechanics with blood.
Yeah, it's nice with blood tokens. If you have a bunch of cards that have relevant discard costs, like the Bloodsworn Squire, for example, eventually you can get to a critical mass where you want to play this card, but I think for the most part, most of your cards are going to be worth more than 2/2 zombies, so you need to be getting something out of them.
I agree. The average deck's not going to want this, but there is a deck that does it, for sure.
Yeah.
Edgar's Awakening, 5 mana. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you discard Edgar's Awakening, you may pay 1. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's kind of like a built-in madness.
Yeah, except it has a different effect, obviously.
Yes, but it also lets you do a thing if you still get some value if you madness
correct.
it. This card is fine. It's sorcery speed, so it doesn't trick them. It's not card advantage. It's just card neutral. But if I've got 2 bombs in my deck, I'm happy to have a third.
Yeah, it's weird that it's actually the discard portion of it is card advantage.
Yes, if you're looting it away to card draw and you get a thing, yeah.
Yeah. I don't love these 5 mana effects, but that discard thing is kind of nice in this format. I'm probably a little more willing to play this one than most of these effects.
I agree. I think it's a 2/5.
Yep.
All right.
That's where I have it.
Falcon Wrath, Forebearer, 3 mana, 3/1 with flying. It can't block. When it deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. Ooh, I like this. Pay 1, sacrifice 2 blood tokens, return this from your graveyard to the battlefield. I'm in. I'm sold. Let's go. It's a great beater on its own.
Yeah, it was a very good card.
It's doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't even mind the 1 point of toughness as much because you have a chance to get it back later.
Yeah. Is this a 4?
I think it's a 3/5 for me. You do need enough support in getting blood tokens in order for this to be good, or be particularly good. It's which is why I would have it a little lower.
Okay, off by 0.5 points, fine. Fell Stinger, 3 mana, 3/2 with Death Touch exploit. When it exploits a creature, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. I love a good black draw spell. We've seen draw 2 cards, lose 2 life for 3 mana. This comes with a body attached. To be fair, you have to sack, but you could be sacking a zombie fodder decayed token or something. Oh no, the zombies from this didn't have decayed, right?
Nope.
No, okay. Well, it's a little less cool, but it's fine.
Yeah, and particularly the fact that it's a scorpion that has Death Touch.
3?
Yeah, I think it's a 3.
All right, Gift of Fangs, 1 mana for an enchant aura. Enchant creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's a vampire. Otherwise, it gets -2, -2. It's very flexible. Vampire deck wants it. Hell, I'm even happy to run this as a non-vampire deck to just be a -2 enchantment for 1 mana.
Yeah, I mean, it's sorcery speed shock that can also pump your guys.
Yeah. 3?
Yep.
All right, Gluttonous Guest, 3 mana for a 1/4. When it enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Whenever you sacrifice a blood token, have an incidental life gain, which triggers some of our cool mechanics. It's fine. One deck wants this. Great sideboard card against aggressive decks.
Yeah, I think one deck particularly wants it, and other black decks will be fine with playing it. If you need a 3-drop, you need something with some toughness. You're going to get a redraw later out of it.
2?
I think it's fine. Yeah, I think it's a 2.
All right. Graft Reaver for a 3/3 for 2 with Exploit. When it exploits a creature, destroy target planeswalker. At the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to you. Planeswalker thing is very rarely relevant, so it's kind of just like a 3 mana 3/3 that pings you every turn. Yeah, I'm not in love with it.
It's a 2 mana 3/3.
I think that's what I meant to say.
I really 2 mana 3/3 is kind of way above rate.
It is, but it pings you every turn. So, like, you've got to be in an aggressive deck that can shut the game down moderate. Like, you have to be able to stay ahead of that. And a pretty aggressive deck can, but the average deck probably can't.
I mean, or you just trade it, and you're going to be able to trade it with something pretty good. You're probably going to trade up in mana.
Or you attack once for 3, and then they brick you with a 1/4, and then what do?
You exploit it.
If you have another exploit creature, like this is already on the field.
Yeah, I'm playing a 2-mana 3/3 with this downside in every single deck I ever draft.
Okay, well, I'm a little bit more on the fence. I have to have escape options for it, sack outlets, exploit, or an aggressive deck that I think that can stay above curve. I think like you can end up in some really sticky situations where this thing's just going to ping you and not get much going for it.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you're more likely to force them to make bad trades or put them deal 6 damage before you have to trade it off.
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, I think that is true in the aggressive decks, and I think that that's the deck I'm happy to have this in. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2/5.
I think I've got it at 3/5.
Grisly Ritual, 6 mana for a sorcery. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Create 2 blood tokens. That's a lot of mana.
Yeah, it's expensive. You're not going to want to play 3 of these, but you'll probably play the first one.
Yeah, we're definitely playing the first one. It's just not premium removal. This feels like a 3.
No. Yeah, I think it's a 3. That's fine.
It's hard, because anything that says destroy target creature, like, I'm like, hey, I'm in. But then I saw that it said 6 mana, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Alright, so Groom's Finery, we saw this earlier. 2 mana, gets +2/+0, and gets an additional 0/2, and has Death Touch if we have the Groom equipped as well. I think we gave this like roughly a 2. It's not great, even if you manage to Voltron it up. It's fine. It's cute. It's good. But like, you probably only draw 1. You don't want to draw multiples of. You don't want to play multiples to increase your chances of getting them, because you just have like less creatures and less removal. So it's fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same things we said about the Bride's card in white. You'll play an equipment. This is fine to play, but I'm not thrilled. It's like a right around.
Headless Rider, a 3 mana 3/1. Whenever Headless Rider or another non-token zombie you control dies, create a 2/2 zombie token. Seems great.
Yeah, 3 mana 3/1's a little, so is a bad rate, but no matter what, it's replacing itself with the 2/2.
Yep.
And you can get a few other ones if you've got enough zombies in your deck.
Yeah, I feel like there's some incidental zombies that even if you don't have a zombie deck,
yeah,
you'll get enough value out of this to make it worth it. It's like a 3/5 with some upside.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Henrik, 4 mana 1/3. This better be some amazing text. Legendary Vampire with flying at the beginning of combat on your turn. Choose one that hasn't been chosen. Okay, so you get one of each. Each player sacrifices a creature. You draw a card and lose a life. Or you could transform this. Flying, Death Touch, Life Linking, 3/4. Pay 3 mana. Each creature you control with flying, Death Touch, and or Lifelink get +1/+0 until end of turn. Okay, so you can sack unless it's not convenient. Each player sacks a creature. So ideally, I feel like I'm like ahead and draw a card, then transform, right?
Yeah. I mean, your fail case on this is you just transform it right away, right? You've got a 4 mana 3/4 flying Death Touch Lifelink with a window for them to kill it beforehand.
Yeah. Seems
this
good to
card's
me.
Great. Yeah.
Doesn't have that lasting like board impact that we like to see for our 5s. So this is probably just a 4/5, but it's a bomb that's going to win the game.
Yeah, it comes pretty close to given that you can immediately replace it on your combat if you play this pre-combat. So
it does replace itself.
Yeah, now granted, there's a window there where they can, bolt it or the equivalent of whatever bolt is in this set, but it's a narrow window.
Yeah, it's a narrow window, and you can play around it. Like, you can play it when it's convenient. I'd be okay with bumping this to a 5 if you think it's relevant.
No, I liked it as a 4/5. I just think it's I think it's very close. Yeah.
All right, Hero's Downfall reprint. 3 mana, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Premium removal is always a 4.
Yeah, I want to give this a higher grade, even though I know we don't, just because, really, why is this an uncommon? This was a rare not that long ago. But yeah, I mean, the card's fantastic. I'll play 9 of these in my deck.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, it seems a little out of place as a rare. I agree that it normally is, but the removal's just gotten so good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to put this in rare, then there's like no removal. You should almost never print it rare.
Yeah, and they haven't really, like, except for things that are really weird, like the white one. But, like, we got Grasp and a bunch of stuff that are just really good. Black is just getting, insane removal now.
Yep.
That's the normal thing. Innocent Traveler, 4 mana for a 1/3 at the beginning of your upkeep. Any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If no one does, transform it into a 3/3. Gets +2/+0 as long as an opponent controls a human. I mean, 4 mana is still kind of a lot. It makes it sound like, when I was reading the thing that says, like, they can sack a thing to not flip it, I was thinking, okay, this backside's got to be insane to incentivize them to do that. But it's a 3/3 is not that hard to remove. So they just have to be sacking things that are weaker than a 3/3, but also then they know they have to do it again anyway, so they're not likely to do it. So this just is a 4 mana 3/3 flyer. That if they control human gets bad, I feel like they are more likely to sack if they think it's going to be a 5/3.
Yeah, or if they have like one human, they'll sacrifice that, and then on the next turn, if they let this flip, it's not as bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm just saying, like, when I started reading the front side, I was like, oh, this is going to be a house, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we play a 4 mana 3/3 flyer. This is probably a little worse.
Yeah.
For like a 2/5.
I like it at a 2/5, yeah. All right. Mind Leech Ghoul. Ew, that's art's really creepy. 2/2 for 2 with exploit. When it exploits, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. Iffy. I don't know if I'm really excited to exploit for a random card that's like a land.
No, I'm not excited by this. I mean, it's upside to being a bear, right? Because sometimes you'll get a free card essentially by sacking something that's under an enchantment, or a 1/1 token that's completely bricked on the board. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a bear with some upside.
I think it's a 2.
Yeah.
Parasitic Grasp, 2 mana for an instant. It deals 3 damage to target human creature, or for 3 mana, it deals 3 damage to target creature. You gain 3 life either way. I'm fine with 3 mana for 3 damage, gain 3 life.
Yeah. That card existed in Kaladesh, I think. Exactly. With 1 black, deal 3, gain 3.
And so far, especially in white, like 3 is kind of a lot of damage. So this feels like a 4 to me at instant speed.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, Path of Peril, 3 damage with 3 mana with cleave. Destroy all creatures with mana value 2 or less, or 6. Destroy all creatures. So it's a board clear. 2 mana value or less feels more sideboardy to me. So if you're not in the cleave colors, then maybe I'm not main deck this, but if you're in the main colors, I'm probably still going to put it in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, this to me really is just 4 white-black, destroy all creatures. I'd be surprised if you cast this really ever for 1 black. Maybe there's some heavy token decks.
I agree with that. What do we rate it?
I mean, if 4 white-black for just a standard Wrath, I mean, that's still good. I mean, it's like a 3.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little expensive for the Wraths we've been seeing, because we had
like
a Cruel Ultimatum, or not Cruel Ultimatum, Dragon's Cruelty or whatever. All right, Persistent Specimen, 1 mana for a 1/1, return Persistent Specimen from the graveyard to the battlefield, tapped. These are always kind of cute with the exploit mechanic.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is designed for.
It's also
just a
chumper.
really annoying repetitive blocker.
Yeah, this seems like a 2/5. I don't think there's going to be a hard time to find enough, the amount of exploit creatures you need is real low to make this worth playing, I think. Especially because it comes back and blocks forever and annoys your opponent to death.
Yeah, especially if I don't have, if my deck does not have a strong complement of 2-drops, I'll gladly just play this.
Yeah. All right. Point of discussion, 3 mana, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, then create a blood token. So this is what's built into that, snaky, or whatever it's called.
The Scorpion.
Scorpion, thank you, snaky thing. These are always playable. This is like a 2/5 to me.
Yep. Simple. To draw 2, lose 2 for 3 is pretty standard.
Yep, and you get a little bonus.
Yep.
All right, at the beginning of your end step, if you discard a card this turn, transform this 2/1 for 2, and then it transforms into a 3/3. Whenever it attacks defending player, loses a life, you gain a life. I'm in for it. This seems great.
I almost...
Go ahead.
So I almost was about to say that I hate this card, and then I remembered, oh wait, blood tokens, so...
Oh wait.
Yeah. Without those, I think this card would be terrible.
Yeah. But there was also blue draw spells that draw 3, discard a card. You know what I mean? There's a ton of incidental discard things that are actually really good for you. We've been doing the set review for 3 hours now, and I swear there are so many times I've said, and you're gonna throw away your disturb card and you're gonna get a half a card for free anyway. So this is just gonna pair really well with all of those synergies.
Yeah. You said 2 mana, 2/1 is still fine on its own, not exciting, and the backside's good. You've got we've seen some Orzhov life gain synergies.
Yep. All right, I like it at a 3. Could be a 2/5 if you have no synergies.
Yeah, I think it's a 3 in a lot of decks. I think 2/5 if you either don't have life gain synergies or you don't have a significant amount of blood.
Yeah, I think the blood is the only, I think that there's a lot of synergies, but I would still dock it a fair amount just because it's kind of hard to assume you have them. But with blood tokens,
yeah,
your draw spells make you blood tokens, your creatures make you blood tokens, your other creature, every time you attack, it made one. It was crazy. So, Restless Bloodseeker, 1/3 for 2 at the beginning of your end step. If you gain life this turn, create a blood token. Okay. Sacrifice 2 blood tokens, transform this at the beginning of your end step. If you gain life, create a blood token. Each opponent loses 2 and you gain 2 for 5 mana, which is great. This is a really good 2-drop, as is, because it's a 1/3 for 2 that has a relevant ability in most, in a certain deck. Even if it's just got a couple of incidental triggers, we're happy. And then once you rotate it, it's got a nice late game mana sink, and it's a 3/3 body, which is pretty substantial. A little meaty for a 2-drop, so I like this card.
Yeah, the only text on this card I don't like is activate only as a sorcery. But otherwise, yeah, this card's great.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's giving you a lot of free value. I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, but it's not stopping me from playing it for sure.
Rot Tide, 5 mana for a 4/5 with exploit. When it exploits, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Okay, I like this. I mean, I've played 5 mana 4/5s vanilla because I just need a 5-drop. I'm just playing the blue-black deck with no top end, and this 4/5 vanilla is just my top end. So that's a 2. This feels fine. What do you think?
I like this card. You're right. That's the worst case, and because exploit's a May, you can just always look at your board and judge whether or not, what you're going to sacrifice is better or worse than what they're going to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this card. It's a good top end card. You're not going to want to play 3 of them, but also I just like the idea of a zombie Kraken.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, isn't a Kraken scary enough as it is? A zombie Kraken? Come on, get out of here. Obviously these get better the more dumb shit you have to sack, but I think this is good. I like it at like a 3.
Yeah, that's where I have it.
Skulking Killer, 4/2 for 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn if that opponent controls no other creatures. Ooh, that's a pretty steep, like, requirement, right?
Yeah.
And it might not be relevant at that time, so I actually kind of hate this card.
Yeah, I don't like this card either. You might have a really heavy removal deck or something where you could play this, but yeah, a lot of times, you're going to trade off your board or something and play this, but what there's left is a 2/3, and then it does nothing.
Yeah, and a 4/2 for 4 is not great. It's not where I want to be.
No, it's like a 1/5.
I gave it a 2.
Sure.
I feel like in a pinch, if you are light on removal, it's going to see some play.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Sorin the Mirthless, 4 mana for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. Look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card and put it into your hand. If you do, you lose life equal to its mana value. I like that you don't have to reveal it. That's the +1. 2 is create a 2/3 black vampire token with flying and lifelink. Oh boy, that's a good token. That's a really good token. All right, Sorin the Mirthless deals 13 damage to any target. You gain 13 life. Great. Planeswalkers doing Planeswalker things. I actually think that this is one of the better Planeswalkers that we've been seeing. A lot of them have seemed to be kind of low impact, but a 2/3 lifelink flyer protects this Sorin itself very well. It's some good card draw. This feels great.
I mean, you'd play 2 black, make 2/3 black vampires with flying and lifelink.
Yes.
That would be a good card.
Would you play a 4 mana? Now, this would be a bad, not good card, but I would probably play a 4 mana 2/3 flying lifelinking vampire in a vampire set with vampire synergies, right?
If I have the synergies or if I have life gain synergies, yeah, not necessarily on its own, but
Agreed.
you're not far away.
That is the worst case, right? Yeah. Is like a borderline playable thing on its own.
Yeah.
And I love that this Planeswalker's great.
Yeah, I kind of love the first ability. It just reminds me of the story when Bob Maher was working with Mark Rosewater to design Dark Confidant as his invitational card. And the only thing he wanted to change on it was, could that be a May ability? And Rosewater's apparently his response was, it could, but then it couldn't be a 2-drop or it couldn't be black. And, well, now we can do it, but it's also 4 mana.
That's a cute story. Do you like this at 4, 5, or 5?
Kind of like it as a 5. That's kind of that's generally what I want to give Planeswalkers, as long as they can produce some sort of card advantage and protect themselves. It does both.
Yep.
Anytime the card can turn the game into a mini game of we need to kill the Planeswalker, probably a 5.
A Slug Horror. Holy shit. Toxrill. 7 mana for a 7/7 at the beginning of each end step. Put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1 for each slime counter on them. That's adorable and amazing. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter dies, create a 1/1 black slug. Aww. And then you can sacrifice a slug to draw a card. I love it. I mean, this is a slow and painful way to die, but I feel like if I was being eaten by a slug, it would be a slow and painful way to die.
Just about to say, as I imagine dying to this thing would be.
I mean, this is a 4/5 because, like, it just gets eaten by a removal spell and didn't really do all that much.
Yeah.
But it is the beginning of your end step, not your upkeep. So it does mean that all of their creatures, if played carefully, take a massive hit and probably kills some of their creatures. So that actually does leave a pretty relevant board state. Maybe it is a 5. It's going to win you the game if left undealt with and leaves a lasting board state, right?
I mean, it can still die before that.
Oh, no. So the creatures with the slime counters don't get -1 anymore when it's dead.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, it's a 4/5.
Yeah, it kills X1s on the spot. But,
yeah. Which, sometimes will work, sometimes won't. Undead Butler, 1/2 for 2, zombie. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3. When it dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. And it every end step. Yeah, which is why we said that it'll kill them slowly, right? The determining factor between a 4/5 and a 5 is, does it do something that is a lasting impression on the board if the opponent has the answer the turn it's played, or like when they untap, right? So when it dies, the slimy counters do nothing. So that's why it's a 4/5, I think. Planeswalkers that come in and like blow up a creature, those are 5s, because they've impacted the board even if they then kill your Planeswalker in response. This is fine. It's great sack fodder. This is an exploit card.
Definitely. Milling yourself can be relevant.
Yeah.
We've seen some graveyard synergies there. And obviously this itself has some graveyard synergies, so.
Yeah, the floor is pretty medium. It's like a speed bump, whatever.
Yep.
But then, there's so many synergies with this card. It feels pretty good. I wouldn't normally rate this card as highly, but I think this is a 2/5, just because there are so many synergies.
Yeah, I think this card is probably like a 2 or something if there's no exploit in the set, but because there is, and it's a major mechanic, I'd give it a 5.
All right, Undying Malice. Until end of turn, target creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter. These abilities are always kind of iffy. I like them when I've got really good creatures.
Yeah, I've come around a little bit more on these cards than I used to be. Still not thrilled with them, but you can play them to trade. And when you're trading in combat, you can play them in response to a removal spell. It's like in a roundabout way, it's like a Snakeskin Veil against removal.
Yeah, definitely. Unless it's an exile or something.
Unless it's exile, yeah.
I think the value of this card kind of goes up the higher value creatures you have in general, like the average value. And also it's a great sideboard card. If you see that your opponent has like a ton of single target non-exiling removals, then I'm happy to bring these in to kind of counteract that a little bit.
Yeah, these cards are also better the better your ETB effects are.
That's true. Yep.
And with exploit, there are a bunch of ETB effects in this set.
I just don't like running it when I feel like, okay, their creatures are bigger than mine, or they have like combat pump spells, and you're kind of trading that 1-for-1. That feels kind of icky.
Yeah, I agree. I said it's not a premium card, but
it's like a 1/5 or a 2. I'll probably just give it a 2.
I think I've got it.
At what?
A 2.
Okay. Unhallowed Phalanx, 5 mana for a 1/13. It enters the battlefield tapped. Can we sack this to that other idiot?
Yeah, you just use your cannon. I forget what the flip side. Catapult Captain. To throw 2 of these and kill them.
Yeah, I mean that's an achievement. But it's an unplayable card on its own.
Yeah, I mean, if you just really need a big body, big blocker, I mean,
still
sure,
5 mana.
but...
So if you need a blocker, it's usually because the deck's more aggressive than you. And if you're stabilizing on 5 mana, they're probably wider than this thing can handle anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this card's not good.
Yeah, I think it's like a 1/5. I doubt I'll play that. Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice with what's the blue rare? Is it Geralf?
Probably.
That you can sacrifice it and make a 13/13.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Vampire's Kiss. Target player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Create 2 blood tokens. I mean, in a life gain synergy deck, still not excited. unless I've got some really premium payoffs. Like, it's kind of just card disadvantage. You get to loot away a land later to replace itself, but that takes a lot of time and effort. So if you have life gain synergies, if you have blood synergies, maybe.
Yeah, I want a lot of good synergies to play this card. Otherwise, it's just sitting in my sideboard.
Voldaren Bloodcaster, 2 mana for a 2/1 vampire wizard with flying. When Voldaren Bloodcaster or another non-token creature you control dies, create a blood token. I like this. When you create a blood token, if you control 5 or more blood tokens, transform the caster into a 3/3 flyer at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Up to 1 target blood token you control becomes a 2/2 that creature with flying and haste in addition to its other types permanently, not until end of turn. It's like Christmas. I love it. I'm in.
Yeah, this card's good. I mean, 2 mana, 2/1 flyer that, that leaves you a blood token when it dies already is good, and you get more from other creatures dying, and then the backside's just great.
Mm-hmm. I like this at a 4. It's gonna win you the game if it's just left alone.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Wedding Security, 5 mana for a 4/4 vampire soldier. Whenever it attacks, sacrifice a blood token. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on the wedding and draw a card. It's like Christmas again.
Yeah, you attack, you get a counter, you draw without having to discard. So you trade your blood token from a rummage to a counter and a card.
I mean, I think this is a solid 3. I'm happy at this point with just a couple of incidental blood tokens. Once you start getting the blood synergies, this is a payoff card. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is like probably I think a 3, but could easily be higher in decks that can generate those tokens.
Agreed. We actually did it in under an hour. Yanks, go us.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching our black set review. Yanks, what do you think? Is black as strong as it was in the last set?
That would take some doing, so I'm going to say no.
I don't think so either. Oof. Nothing seemed quite as crazy, and black was actually the card or the color in the last set that we immediately, during the set review, was like, what the heck? So, I don't think there's anything here that's going to be too shocking and dominate the format like it has previously, but it's awesome. I had a lot of fun with this color. So make sure you guys leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think of black, and we will see you in the next video for our red set review for Crimson Vow. Bye, guys. I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.